The night I went from poetry to passion in Chicago, after a dream day at the Art Institute, I found myself making out with a man I'd just met. "You're so sweet," he said as we embraced, but chaos ensued when housekeeping barged in. What happened next? I was in Chicago with a friend some time ago, before 2020, so we could attend a poetry and literary reading by our favorite author. She was staying with her boyfriend, and I had my own room a few blocks away. I usually wake up early, while she prefers to stay out late and sleep in, so I was not going to meet her until later in the day for our rendezvous at the Poetry Center. Early in the morning, I was up looking for a cup of tea and something to eat, and then I made my way to the Art Institute of Chicago, where I spent the majority of my day. For anyone who is unaware, this museum is one of the finest in the world. I was there for about 5 hours and still could not see everything they had to offer. It was one of the most incredible experiences I have ever had in my life. When I find myself in a bad mood, I often slip into a reverie about my time in the echoing silence of that building. Towards the end of my visit, I turned a corner and saw it. I had seen the painting in printed copies, but I had no idea I would actually come face to face with Nighthawks that day. I truly felt as if the wind had been knocked out of me. The way the yellow light from within the diner casts shadows on the dark street is something one must see in person. This Edward Hopper painting resides permanently at this museum, and I believe it is worth making a trip just to see it with your own eyes. I am not describing my feelings very well, but it was a stunning experience that I often reflect on. As late afternoon approached, I finally went to meet my friends so we could begin our evening. I had a glass of dry rose with them at a bar, after which we had dinner. Later, we took a taxi to the Poetry Center for a reading by our favorite author. We held hands, entranced by the discussion. It was yet another incredible experience that day. After the event, her boyfriend wanted to watch a football game. That was fine. They found a Hooters. Yes, after our literary event, I had to go to a Hooters, but as the saying goes, when in Rome. It turned into a pleasant evening. After the football game concluded, my friend left with her boyfriend and I stayed to watch the second half of the Cubs versus Nationals game. This was a World Series game occurring the year after the Cubs had finally won, leading to some very excited fans. The restaurant closed down and began cleaning up, but the staff told me it was okay for me to stay and finish watching. I struck up a long conversation with one of the waitresses, and when the Cubs triumphed over the Nationals, we jumped up and down and hugged each other. I had made a friend for the evening, and it was quite nice, that is all I can say. It was just before midnight when I left the Hooters. I feel foolish typing that out and walked back to my hotel. I was quite energized and did not want to go to sleep yet, and my hotel had a lovely rooftop bar. I decided to enjoy a glass of wine before going to bed. I had just experienced an amazing daysome solitary time at the museum dinner and a poetry reading with my best friend, not to mention a fun impromptu baseball game. I did not want the night to conclude. I sat on the left side of the bar with my stack of books from the reading and ordered a Sauvignon Blanc. I was 38 at the time and not very conventionally attractive, so I typically was left alone. For reasons unknown, not one but two men began to bother me. I was simply there to enjoy my drink before bed, and I was not accustomed to men attempting to initiate conversation with me. The bartender, Shauna, I still remember her name, suggested that I might enjoy the company at the other side of the bar more. I took her advice and moved. Shauna was correct. There was a friendly woman visiting from Arizona. We chatted about books in Chicago and enjoyed a pleasant conversation. I ordered what I thought would be my last glass of wine as my new friend went off to bed after our discussion. Shauna mentioned that she was glad I was having a good time and that she wanted everyone to feel comfortable at her bar. In the meantime, two younger men approached me and began speaking with Shauna. I did not pay too much attention, but gathered that they were also bartenders who knew Shauna and had just finished their shifts. Shauna brought out an ornate crystal bottle of a particular rum that she wanted to share with her friends. I must admit I was a little inebriated at this point because my eyes were captivated by the bottle. I do not drink much hard alcohol. I was truly just mesmerized by the beautiful container and said, "Hey, can I join in on this and have a shot, please?" Thus, I inadvertently shared a drink with the two individuals sitting beside me. I finished my wine, settled my bill, and left Shauna a $20 tip for being so kind. One of the men next to me casually remarked that they were heading to a 4 a.m. bar and said, "You can come along if you want." Well, let me backtrack. I was 38 and separated from my husband, who was soon to be my ex-husband, during this time. I was alone in a bar in Chicago. I did not know how Uber or Lyft functioned. I had never gone anywhere with a strange man before, let alone with two. I had been with precisely one person since the age of 22. This was unfamiliar territory for me. Naturally, I hurriedly decided to go for it. I went down to my room, dropped off my books, and pulled on a fleece jacket. My mind quickly ran through the possibilities. One, they could murder me and leave me in an alley for the rats to consume, not likely but possible. Two, we might go to the 4 a.m. bar, they would leave, and I would not know how to return to my hotel likely. I would have someone assist me in getting a taxi back if necessary. 3. I would be able to retrace my steps and make my way back unlikely. 4. One of them would aid me in returning home, not likely. I concluded that option 2 was the most probable outcome and one I could tolerate. I reunited with them at the bar, we all went downstairs and started walking towards the 4 a.m. bar. I followed them, but as it was dark outside and I was unfamiliar with the area, I quickly lost track of where we were concerning my hotel. We arrived and took our places at the bar, just chatting and passing time. They both wanted to move to Colorado. One was dating a lawyer. They bought me 1 or 2 beers I honestly cannot recall. Another first for me, no one had ever bought me a drink in my entire life. It was likely around 2 a.m. and I was truly quite intoxicated at that point. I went to the bathroom, returned, continued to stand, but rested my hand on the back of the bar seat for stability. I kept chatting and I felt one of them touch my hand that rested behind the back of the bar seat. I reached back, it was on, I understood it. Was hooking up this effortless? I had never had a one-night stand and did not have a boyfriend until I was almost 23. But in that moment, I knew what was unfolding as if I had been fluent in this language all my life. The night was drawing to a close. Although we had our physical connection, I was still uncertain about how I would return home. I took a deep breath and tried to organize what remained of my intoxicated, fatigued mind when the redhead, whose name I believe was Steven, told his friend, "I'll get her home." I hugged both of them tightly and then went to the curb to wait for the Uber with Steven. I suppose option 4 was how the night came to an end. A small white compact SUV picked us up. We climbed into the back seat and I immediately sat on his lap and began kissing him. "You're so sweet," he said. "You're so nice," I replied. Upon entering the lobby, I fumbled my keycard for the elevator and we went up, unlocked my door, and I held on to him when I stumbled and scraped my arm against the wall on my way down, bringing him down with me. We simply held each other for a moment, and then he told me I was sweet and beautiful. I assume he was drunk too, or is this the typical conversation during these encounters? And I started crying. I was nearly 40 and my life felt like it might be over since I was getting divorced. My ex-husband never paid me that kind of attention. It was overwhelming. I do not think Steven actually knew my name, which was fine. He called me baby frequently and reassured me that I was okay. Between kisses, we talked a little more. Surprisingly, we were both from the same adjacent state and had both lost a parent within the past year. I suppose our stars were aligned. We kissed a lot and fooled around, and I did not want to engage in penetrative sex, which he completely respected and did not press for at all. More time passed and it was still dark out. I'm not sure who decided, but at one point I found myself in the bathroom brushing my teeth. I lent him mine and then we took a shower together. We held one another under the water and looked into each other's eyes, and it felt very nice, as if we had known each other for a long time. I recognized that none of that may have been real or true, but it felt very sweet in the moment. I did not expect to feel relaxed or safe with a man at all, and yet here I was. At this point, I was beyond exhausted, and all the alcohol from the day was catching up with me because I was slurring my speech and could not follow the conversation. I dried my hair and completed my post-shower routine, and to my surprise, the sun was coming up. I think it was around 6 a.m. by this point. Steven mentioned that he should leave, and I grabbed his hand, pleading with him to stay. I probably said a few other cringeworthy things like, "Oh, can I see your apartment? Where do you live?" and other stalker-like comments, but I did not mean it. I was just drunk. I asked just once, and Steven shut all the blinds, prepared the room, and then climbed into bed with me. He wrapped his arms around me, and I immediately fell asleep in his embrace. Unfortunately, one thing I neglected was to hang a "Do Not Disturb" sign, so a few hours later I was awakened from a dead, drunken sleep, confusedly hearing a woman calling housekeeping. Oh no, I had not put on any pajamas and had fallen asleep completely naked in Steven's arms. We both woke up. I found my glasses and a towel, then went to the door and sheepishly asked her to come back in an hour. My mind was a sleepy mess, and we haphazardly got each other dressed. He lifted me up, grabbed my posterior, and gave me a long, passionate kiss, and then he was gone. I do not even know how I managed to gather my belongings and check out, as it was my checkout day. I had just taken a shower and washed my hair a few hours before, so I was okay in that regard. I washed my face again, brushed my teeth, and gathered my clothes, books, perfume bottles, and toiletries from the bathroom, crammed everything into my backpack, and checked out. I searched for a cup of tea and called my friend, informing her that I was coming to her room. I entered and said little while waiting for her and her boyfriend to finish getting ready. My friend noticed how tired I appeared and threw a blanket over me in the meantime. After that, we were all just waiting to leave town. We walked around a bit and even went to a bar to kill time. I just had a 7-Up. And suddenly, it was a warm October afternoon, and I found myself in a park alone, watching squirrels and reading my book from the poetry event until it was time to head to Millennium Station for my train back home. I suppose this is not a particularly scandalous story, but that day was one of the best days of my life. It was filled with people, art, food, sports, and a wonderful city to soak it all in. I have not seen Steven again, of course, and I have not experienced anything similar since. I miss him a bit sometimes, but I do not dwell on what-ifs or anything of that nature. I am glad it happened, though. It was a pleasant experience and every once in a while I think of him fondly. I am extremely grateful for his kindness, for ensuring my safety, and for respecting me in every conceivable way. Story 2. After 5 years together, my fiancé's sweet talk turned to anger when I let my niece say hi. "You're not even hearing me," he shouted. Was I gaslit or was this just his way of venting? "Leave me alone if I tell you to," he demanded. Did I really push him too far? I need assistance. I 25 years old female and my fiancé, 27 years old male have been in a relationship for 5 years. We just had an argument this morning and I feel as though he manipulated my perception and was unkind to me. I am confused because he is typically very in touch with his feelings and he has never resorted to name-calling or manipulated my perception during arguments before. I am uncertain if calling me a tough girl is considered name-calling. It is rather mild, but it feels very strange for him to say that. Did I actually initiate the argument and am I overlooking something? Was I being too persistent and arguing over trivial details? I am trying to understand what I did to make him so upset, so please do not hold back. I need brutal honesty. Context: Sunday is his only day off. He worked 2 shifts on Saturday and wanted to accomplish a lot on Sunday. My 9-year-old niece wanted to come over on Sunday and my parents brought her to visit after I checked with my fiancé and he agreed, just stating that he could not join us. We were in the living room while he was in the bedroom right next to us. The only other room we could have been in does not have any chairs. He slept on the couch on Saturday night because my best friend spent the night, and we used the bedroom, which I of course discussed with him beforehand and he agreed. I let my niece say hello to him. It was supposed to be just a quick visit, and he left the bedroom to join us on his own accord. Text messages. I am really frustrated that Sunday got thrown off schedule. It is my fault for not being more assertive, but I tend to go into autopilot mode thinking I must serve other people. I had a lot I wanted and needed to accomplish and it all went to waste. I am a good host, but I should not have allowed my niece to play with the Legos I am trying to sell, pulling them apart, stepping all over them and getting distracted all day. I could have stayed and talked to get advice on my eBay business, which is running just fine, and spent 2 hours building a fence blind. I often put myself aside. I understand. I told them you would be busy, and I informed you that we would stay out of your way. My niece wanted to say hello, but I did not realize you would stop what you were doing to spend time with us. You were literally on the other side of the door. It is not in my nature to say hi and then shut the door. We had guests and they wanted to see the dogs, so we could not go upstairs. Besides, you did not stay out of my way, you were right next to where I was. That is my fault, but also being in close proximity would trigger my do not be rude alarm. We could not really be anywhere else, which is why I suggested we go around the block. I thought you could return to your work, but you chose to stay with us. I thought you changed your mind like that time when we were having burgers at my parents' house, and you were supposed to leave, but you decided to stay much longer. You told me not to speak for you then, so I did not want to suggest going back to selling Legos, when past experiences have shown that it is important for you to make your own decisions without my input. Please stop bothering me. I am simply explaining why I acted the way I did, because it seems like you are blaming me for how you spent time with us. I think there are definitely factors in the situation that you are responsible for. If you read my text, I actually acknowledge my fault. However, there are indeed factors that are your responsibility. Next time you should go over to their place instead of having them come to our house. I have things to accomplish and I am easily distracted and have difficulty saying no. Those unconscious responses will keep repeating unless I remain aware of them. I also think fault is a strong word. I am not placing blame, just identifying behaviors and actions that led to the outcomes. I worked a lot on Saturday, that was my choice. I had to sleep on the couch and got very little sleep after a long day, that was your choice. They asked to come over because my niece wanted to see the dogs. I would like to be able to say yes to that request without you getting upset. How about a little consideration? That is all I ask, take the dogs outside. If my niece wants to see the dogs, do not let her peek in to see what I am doing and ask to take apart the sets I am trying to sell. I thought she wanted to see the dogs. The dogs can be in the backyard. Yes, but I would say that almost 50% of Saturdays you choose to stay on the couch. Why did we watch iCarly? That is not true. I did take the dogs outside, but you did not return to your work. Definitely not 50%. I was already beckoned out, so next time leave me alone. I realize now that I cannot make myself be left alone without recognizing it. She asked if she could say hi to you. Next time I will tell her no. Great, that is what I requested when you asked if they could come over. I am busy and I cannot hang out, meaning leave me alone. I did not realize that is what I was asking for, but I understand now. It is my fault for thinking a quick hello was acceptable. Him, you use words like bad and fault. You are not even listening to me. Me, yes, that is how you are making it feel. You are upset right now, and all this happened because I let her say hi to you. It seems like it turned out to be a negative situation for me. Him, I am not blaming anything on you. I am replaying Sunday in my mind and expressing how I feel about the sequence of events. That is all. There are things I liked and things I did not like, and I disliked most of it. That does not make it good or bad. You asked me how I was feeling and I said I did not know. I am working through it. I will stop sending you information if it is a problem, but I literally have zero patience to argue about trivial matters and be judged and held responsible for unconscious decisions. They are unconscious. Me, but you are upset with me for your unconscious decisions. Him, I am merely replaying events and saying, this was good, this was not good or bad. I am angry that I was in a self-sabotaging environment without realizing how easily I undermine myself, and now I am recognizing it, and I am upset because I neglected myself again. I am not accusing anyone of fault. Me, you did earlier, but then you retracted it. Regardless, you do appear to be blaming me when you stated, you were literally on the other side of the door, and you guys did not stay out of my way at the beginning of this conversation. I did not assume you were blaming me until you made those statements. Him, this is incredibly foolish. I never mentioned fault first, I said my bad. Oh boy, I did not realize that I needed to argue about semantics. You are missing the essential point. It is not about you. You asked me how I feel and I am telling you, it is about me. I can stop texting if you ask. I am merely explaining why I am upset and you are making it about you. It is not about you. I believe you knew what you were doing and you clearly understood how I would react better than I understood myself, apparently. And now I am stating the things you already knew and you are arguing with me over who said what first and who assumed what and what was implied by which text. Just leave me alone. I am still extremely tired. Do not ask me for anything today. Please leave me alone. I am just trying to get through the day, make some changes, and care for myself. I do not have the energy to take care of you either. I do not think I have asked for reassurance today, so I do not believe I am making you take care of me. I do not think I am asking for too much. What I am asking for is that you do not start anything with me today. I have things to accomplish and I cannot be here reading texts, debating points, and arguing. Leave me alone if you wish to argue. I am not well today. Me, this is completely absurd. You instigated the situation when you made those comments. You are distorting this. I was simply defending myself when you were blaming me. Then you state I am not blaming you, and it was my unconscious decisions after clearly blaming me. I did not initiate anything. Reread the conversation for proof. Him, great, okay, Ms. Tough Girl. Cross your arms defiantly. You are making a powerful stance. I do not care if I am right. Leave me alone if I tell you to. There are significant parts of this conversation that we are not focusing on. Do not disturb me when I am busy. Do not allow my niece to bother me when I am busy. Leave me alone. I do not want to have to attend Sunday dinners or New Year's Eve or have standing appointments on my one day off. If I am busy, I do not want to pretend to be nice. Leave me alone. Do not talk to me today. Leave me alone. I am very close to losing control today and you keep pushing. Stop. Summary, I do not believe I initiated the argument, but my fiancé insists that I did. He is also claiming that he was not blaming me for anything, yet it is clear that he did. Story 3. Thanksgiving took a wild turn when my sister and I discovered we were both dating the same guy. He's so charming, we said, totally clueless. Now, after comparing notes, we're laughing through tears, united in sisterhood after being played. What happened next? We were both dating the same person, and we had absolutely no idea. Let me provide some context. I am the younger sister by 3 years. We have always been close, but we reside in different areas of the city and have distinct friend groups. I am more of the reserved, studious type who would rather stay at home with a good book, while she is the social butterfly who knows every bartender downtown by name. I met him at a coffee shop near my apartment. It was a classic meet cute. He accidentally knocked over my latte while reaching for a napkin, insisted on buying me a replacement, and we ended up conversing for 2 hours. He was charming, attentive, and seemed genuinely interested in my ramblings about my job in library science. When he requested my phone number, it felt like the beginning of something promising. What I did not realize was that 3 weeks earlier, he had met my sister at a friend's birthday party. He utilized the same charming smile, the same attentive listening, and the same genuine interest in her event planning career. The warning signs were present, I just did not recognize them. He was always busy on certain evenings of the week, never invited me to his home, and kept our relationship off social media because he valued privacy. When I reflect on the past, I want to shake my former self. I have been seeing someone new, I told my sister during our monthly phone catch-up. Me too, she replied. He is so different from my usual type. Same here, I laughed. He actually listens when I talk. We did not exchange more details. Perhaps if we had described him or mentioned a name, which I will refer to as Jay for this story, we would have figured it out sooner. However, we had always had a peculiar competitive dynamic growing up, and perhaps subconsciously, we did not want to jeopardize our new relationships by comparing notes. The weeks passed. Things with Jay were going exceptionally well. He remembered little details about stories I shared. He brought me soup when I fell ill. He sent sweet good morning texts that made me smile like an idiot during my commute. Occasionally, he had to cancel plans at the last minute due to work emergencies, family obligations, or a friend in crisis. I believed him every time. Why would I not? Trust is the foundation of relationships, correct? Then came Thanksgiving. My sister and I both arrived at our parents' house early to assist with cooking. "So is your mysterious new guy coming to dinner?" I teased as we peeled potatoes. She shook her head. "He is having Thanksgiving with his family in Connecticut." "Mine too," I said, surprised. "Well, he mentioned upstate New York, but still." We laughed at the coincidence and moved on to chopping onions, not sensing any red flags, not even a hint of suspicion. It was not until after dinner, when the food coma was settling in and we were all sprawled out across the living room furniture, that my sister pulled out her phone. "Mom, you have to see how cute he is," she said, scrolling through her photos. "I think this might actually be serious." She held out her phone. I casually glanced from my spot on the couch. And there he was, his arm around my sister at some rooftop bar, that same smile he had given me just 2 days earlier when he kissed me goodbye and said he wished he did not have to leave town for the holiday. The room did not actually go silent. My dad was still talking about some neighbor's leaf blower and the television was playing the football game, but in my head everything came to a standstill. That is, I could not find the words. My sister looked at me puzzled, then concerned. "What is wrong? You look as if you have seen a ghost." I reached for my own phone with trembling hands, opened my photos and handed it to her. Her expression went through the same transformation mine must have: confusion, disbelief, followed by dawning horror. "Is this some kind of joke?" she whispered. Our parents, now realizing something was happening, watched in confusion as we compared photos, dates, and text messages. The identical good morning texts, the same excuses for canceled plans, and even the same restaurant where he had taken both of us, though he had been clever enough to request different tables. The pieces fell into place with nauseating clarity. The nights he could not see me were when he was with her. The weekends he was out of town were sometimes true, but other times he was simply across the city. He had constructed elaborate lies, clinging to just enough truth to make them believable. What followed was perhaps the most honest conversation my sister and I had ever shared. Sitting on our childhood bedroom floor, still in our Thanksgiving dinner clothes, we laid everything out. When we had met him, what he had told each of us about his life, the promises, the future plans, everything. "I cannot believe I fell for this," my sister said, wiping angry tears. "I am supposed to be the street-smart one." "And I am supposed to be the observant one," I replied. "What a team we make." That was when something shifted. Looking at each other across a sea of tissues, something bubbled up, not quite laughter but close. "Did he tell you about his alleged peanut allergy?" I asked. She snorted, "Yes, but then I saw him eat pad thai with peanuts. He told me it was a mild sensitivity that comes and goes." The same exact words. She collapsed backward onto the carpet. Suddenly we were both laughing. That kind of unhinged, slightly hysterical laughter that emerges when the alternative is breaking down. We stayed up until 3 a.m., comparing notes and planning our response. Because if there is one thing stronger than feeling like a fool, it is the bond between sisters who have been deceived by the same man. We decided on a coordinated approach. No angry confrontation that would merely provide him with the drama and attention he most likely craved. Instead, we would meet him together, calmly explain that we were aware of everything, and then walk away and never look back. 2 days later, I texted him to meet at a cafe, the same one where we had first encountered each other. My sister was already there when he walked in, his face lighting up upon seeing me near the door. "Hey, I missed," he began, then froze when he spotted my sister sitting at a table by the window. I will never forget his expression, like a computer overloaded with too many programs and crashing. He actually took a step backward. "We thought it might be nice for all of us to have coffee together," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. What ensued was both dreadful and strangely empowering. He tried denial first, then minimizing, "We never established we were exclusive," then blame shifting, "You two never mentioned having a sister," and finally, pathetic apologizing. My sister and I did not yell. We did not cry. We simply laid out what we knew, explained that we would both be blocking him on everything, and suggested that he seek professional help for whatever issues led him to believe this behavior was acceptable. Then we left him sitting there and walked out together. Outside, my sister took my hand. You okay? Not really, I admitted, but I will be. How about you? Same, she squeezed my fingers. I cannot believe we dated the same man. I cannot believe we will have to tell this story at every family gathering for the rest of our lives. She laughed. Mom is never going to let us live it down. And she has not. It has been 2 years, and every time one of us mentions a new date, she asks, have you checked with your sister? We have both dated other individuals since then, better people. I am currently seeing someone whom I take quite seriously. And yes, my sister has met him multiple times by my choice right from the beginning. That Thanksgiving altered things between us. We communicate more now about everything. The competition that always simmered beneath our relationship has mostly evaporated. It turns out that discovering you were dating the same person as your sister is a remarkably effective way to reset your priorities. At times, I still feel anger thinking about him and all his lies. However, mostly I am grateful. Not for what he did, this was undeniably awful, but for what followed. My sister and I rediscovered each other as adults. We built something stronger. Story 4. Left behind while my friends rented a cabin, I was shocked to discover my best friend, who once said she'd never go again, was now going with them. I have to choose, she told me, shattering our plans. Should I apologize for being cold? First of all, I apologize for any mistakes in my English, as it is not my first language. Secondly, this is my first post. I am unsure if it belongs here, but writing it helps me process my feelings about this situation, determine my next steps, and possibly read some external opinions. It all started about 2 weeks ago. My group of friends wanted to plan something for the upcoming holidays since it had been a while since our last big outing. Initially, they suggested using my family's cabin and asked if I could arrange it. While this detail is not crucial, the dates when I could get the cabin did not align with when most of the group was available, so those plans were canceled. A week later, I made separate plans and a reservation for an activity with my best friend. She is not part of my main friend group, but they know each other, and she is friends with 2 members of that group. Meanwhile, my friend group still wanted a holiday trip, so they began searching for rental cabins. As this week arrived, they had not made any progress in finding a cabin or determining who would be joining them. On my end, things became a bit more complicated. I could no longer join their potential trip because my parents informed me that they would be going to the family cabin and invited me along. Since I already had plans and a reservation with my best friend, I declined. As a result, my parents asked me to stay home and care for our dog. The real issues began when my friend group started inviting people on their cabin trip, and my best friend was among those invited. My best friend had previously told me she would not go to a cabin with us again due to some negative experiences 3 or 4 years ago. She mentioned that she did not like the atmosphere and felt somewhat uncomfortable in such gatherings. Therefore, I was naturally surprised by her agreement, especially since the departure date coincided with our planned activity. She never mentioned that she was going. In fact, she seemed to avoid the topic or was vague when discussing her holiday plans. While I understand that she does not have to share everything, I found it strange that she kept this information to herself. It seemed evident that I would find out, considering she was going with my friend group, the same people I talked to almost every evening on Discord, where their trip was being actively discussed while I was present. I assumed she had her reasons, so I did not press the issue. As the trip date approached, and with no solid plans regarding who was going or where, I had little faith that it would actually happen. Since my best friend had not suggested canceling our plans, I decided to wait and see how things would unfold. The day before, their initial trip idea fell through. However, they continued to discuss going with a smaller group of 4. My best friend, assuming their trip was off, contacted me to make additional plans for the holidays beyond our existing one. I was genuinely pleased at the thought of not spending the holidays alone. But then my friend group decided to just go for it, renting a cabin and welcoming anyone who could and wanted to join. In this spontaneous decision, my best friend was re-invited. Shortly after, she texted me again, saying she could not go through with the additional plans we had discussed, but assured me that our original reservation was still on and that she would not miss it. I was fine with this, although a bit disappointed that I would only spend about an hour with her during the week-long holiday. Still, if that was what she wanted, I had no objections. Meanwhile, my friend group was actively inviting people and searching for a location. They found a nice cabin for 6 and immediately booked it, setting a 6 p.m. deadline that day for confirmation of who would be attending. The cabin was about a 5.5-hour drive away. Knowing this, I realized it would be very difficult for my best friend to participate in both our plan, which would end at 3 p.m. at the earliest, and leave with my friends early. She even looked into flights to try to make it work. On my side, my parents then informed me that they would not be going to their cabin, so I was not obligated to stay home. This meant I could potentially join my friend's trip, but I had already committed to my other friend. This is where I believe I made a mistake. I was the only one aware of both sides of the situation. I knew why my friend could not leave early with them and why she was trying to find alternatives to join them. However, I was stubborn. Having already stated a week prior that I could not go, I felt excluded from their plans, which were already close to completion. I did not want to suggest changing my plans with my best friend, especially since I initially had no way to get to their trip. The drivers would leave early and I could not afford a flight. Furthermore, the cabin they booked was for 6, which they had seemingly filled. They did mention that if more people wanted to join before 6 p.m., they could upgrade to a larger cabin for 8. This meant that if I had informed my best friend that I knew she was going on that trip, we could have possibly changed our reservation, and we both could have traveled in the cars with my friends going together. But again, I was stubborn. I did not want to change our reservation unless my best friend brought it up first, and I hesitated to tell my friend group that after a week of saying I could not go, I was suddenly available. While I was being stubborn and perhaps prideful, the 6 p.m. deadline for the cabin arrived. They finalized the payment and booked the cabin for 6 people. Meanwhile, I was unaware of my best friend's final decision. I did not know if she planned to leave later, if she had booked a flight, or what her intentions were. The only thing I felt certain about was our existing plans. But then my best friend called me and asked if we could move our plans to another day, explaining that she had something and had to choose one. I will not lie, that hurt. I am not entirely sure why. Maybe it was the way she phrased it, or the fact that she chose the cabin trip with my friends despite previously stating she never would again. Logically, I know it is easier to reschedule a plan involving 2 people than to adjust the schedules and transportation of 6. So my only real reason for not joining the cabin trip was gone, and now it was too late to participate. I am left at home with all my friends out of town, trying to figure out what to do next. Here is my problem. Initially, I was overwhelmed with emotions, anger, sadness, and disillusionment, mostly directed at my best friend. In my mind, if she had informed me sooner, we could have all gone together. However, after reflecting all night, I realized that I am not angry with her. In my eyes, she did nothing wrong. I am angry with myself for being stubborn and for not taking any initiative. I could have easily told her that I knew about the cabin trip and that we could adjust our plans. Because of my initial emotions when she called to reschedule, I was abrupt and cold with her, even though she did not deserve that reaction based on my own inaction. Right now, I am trying to decide whether I should apologize to her for being cold and come clean about everything I knew, or if this is just me seeking comfort or validation.